getting into the heart of clinical practice, decision making, and diagnosis. For this session on Augmented Intelligence in Practice, AI in Clinical Decision Making, and Smart Diagnostics, I would like to invite Mr. R. Shankar, who would be moderating this session, President for HEAL Foundation. Sir, if you can please join us on stage. The session would be co-moderated by Mr. Daleep Manhas, co-founder and CEO Humeta. Speakers for the session are Dr. Ravi Gaur, Chairman Medical Advisory Committee, Oncquest Laboratories Limited, and founder DRG Path Lab and member of the Vicky National Healthcare Committee. Dr. Vikram Aggarwal, Vice President and Facility Director, Fortis Escorts Hospital, Okhla, and Fortis CDOC, New Delhi. Mr. Vicky Nanda, COO NIRAMAI Health Analytix, and Dr. Gaurav Thukral, co-founder and president, Healthcare at Home, HCAH.
This session is also important, and first what we had was family doctors, where doctors went to families. Then we had general physicians, where patients went to the physicians. Then we had specialists, where patients went to the general physicians, then to the specialists, then to super specialists. And then came what's called AI. Then there came other clones of AI like ChatGPT and of late Anthropic. So, and above all this is a cloud called the great WhatsApp University of non-medical sciences. So confusion goes from one end to the other, and to solve this we have a very eminent panelists. But one question which I would like to raise is fear a key to fundamental thinking? When fire was first, how to make fire was first invented, people said it will burn the world down. Well, it's happening. When the wheel was first invented, it said this would be a great danger to animal life because a few horses and cows ran away. Then when the telephone was invented, people said, oh, we will talk less. Well, all things have changed. So AI, we fear now. But in future, would this be a helper? Would this help us? These are all fundamental questions which we need to ask and we need to answer. So this fear will always be there. And we have to solve this particular fear that we have. And today AI is both a darling and also a punching bag. So how do we look at it? So today's session is on Augmented Intelligence in Practice, AI in Clinical Decision Making, and Smart Diagnostics. AI in diagnostics is already demonstrating accuracy comparable clinicians in imaging and pathology, according to Lancet Digital Health. However, adoption remains uneven due to trust deficits, regulatory gaps, and work overflow. This session moves on from theory to practice, exploring how AI is being embedded in clinical decision making. And the key question that we are going to central to all this is the debate: can AI truly augment clinicians, or does it risk over-dependence and de-skilling if deployed without governance? My first question is to Dr. Ravi Gaur. Doctor, as AI in diagnostics approaches clinical level accuracy as highlighted in studies like the Lancet Digital, how are you as a pathology leader and from your perspective with FICCI addressing trust deficits, regulatory gaps, and work overflow integration challenges while embedding AI into routine cancer diagnostics? And what governance frameworks or operating models are essential to ensure that AI augments decision making without leading to de-skilling of pathologists or increasing cognitive burden?
Thank you. I think first let me congratulate the Pacific One Health to set up this micro hospital in the CareCon, and the first CareCon is happening, and I'm sure much more will happen as we move forward. And that too on a day which is like today is World Health Day. And so before I answer your question, let me say just lines, because I think when you're talking about the World Health Day, we need to talk about your own health, definitely for that matter. So I just put down 2 lines, that's in Hindi canon. सेहत ही है असली दौलत, सेहत ही है असली दौलत, इसे संभाल के रखना, अच्छी सेहत, जिंदा दिल, बस इतना ही याद रखना, इसके लिए जो भी जरूरी है जरूर करना. I think that's a fundamental slogan we should remember, we should be talking about and on the World Health Day. Now, coming to your question. When we today we're talking about when we I think I'll give you the example what the lady was asking question, and it's a fact. One of the old 78-year-old woman, and she came to me. I'm a diagnostic person. I'm an oncopathologist profession. She came to the clinic, and one of the leading most pathologist clinic, and she said, Doctor Sahab, she got a urine test done, and report says sterile. And the report was sterile, and she came to a doctor. जब आपका रिपोर्ट पूरा गड़बड़ है, she started fighting. He says, what do you mean गड़बड़ है? मेरा तो NABL है, CAP है, all. Oh no, सब बकवास. It's all stupid. He says, how do you say that? He says, मैंने आपको वहाँ आपने लिखा यूरिन रिपोर्ट स्टेराइल, तो मैंने स्टेराइल डाला ChatGPT. मैंने स्टेराइल says you cannot have children. बोले मेरे तो 4 grandson हैं. How can you say that? But what I'm trying to say that the kind of the education, you're not thinking what you're doing. To me, that's a kind of a thing what we, sometimes AI can go wrong, it can go absolutely wrong. And एक और चीज before I come back to your question. आज बात है AI could be what? It's augmented intelligence, advisory intelligence, autonomous intelligence, whatever it is. But if it is that, AI can show you a journey, he can do you, but जो decisions है, in fact the बस होते हैं ना कि this is आज बात है augmented intelligence की और artificial intelligence की, but जो AI रास्ता दिखाता है, but फैसलों का बोझ इंसान ही उठाता है. That's a human being who will take the decision making, nothing else. That's something which is now the first question you said. Technology in AI, that's something what we're talking about. It's not, firstly, AI is not going to replace clinical judgment. Now, if you look at the Indian data before they start on, 75% of healthcare data is generated in Indian healthcare. But only about 5% of data which is actually structured and meaningful. Remaining data is right, left, and center. And what I was mentioning earlier in the previous session, we have such an unstructured data. We don't know what is the data properly, how to structure, how to put across, how to analyze this, all this, which is such a meaningful thing. And if one can structure your data from today, you know what to do. Probably 1.5 years, that becomes your wealth. Probably that's a value you will get it. Now, this is and it's all fragmented. It's absolutely fragmented. In the healthcare, is totally fragmented, end to end. I have a diagnostic, I have my lab report, I'm a clinician, I have my own report, I am a patient, I have my own system. All this totally in isolation. There's nothing like a unique. There is a reason. In fact, our ID question was asked by Rajan Gupta also, why people are generating. I think he's not here, but I think he's a good friend of mine. We can tell him that. How do you integrate 250,000 diagnostic labs reports? How do you trust the data, the reports of quality? I think that is something, a bigger challenge today, what we're talking about, technology and AI integration, which is maybe 20% labs are quality labs, 70% it may be a quality, we don't know. But if some lab has given you a sugar value of high value somewhere 1 year back, other labs is normal, third one says something else, your AI analytics will go wrong. The whole structure will go wrong. So that is something we need to talk about, we need to talk about, and when you come to cancer you mentioned about. One of the important technology which is AI is being used, can be used for triage, screening, triage at priority. And this is being done, if all of you know, there is a National Cervical Cancer Screen Program which is run by Government of India in Maharashtra. They do a cervical cancer screening program using an AI tool. Because their AI can tell you this is normal, this is abnormal, this is borderline, pap smear. The moment you get that data, okay, normal means, okay, you come on after 6 months, you have no symptom, normal, you do. Then there's an abnormal, okay, now you need immediate attention. So at least if you have 100 people, maybe 10, 12% may be abnormal, or maybe little infections are much more, maybe 25%. They get immediate attention from the gynecologist. So that technology can be used. It's being used in Maharashtra Government of India program. And that is exactly, but it can never replace. This is going to be triage, screening, information, planning, preparation. That's one part. Now and it's being used in radiology. Yes, for a fair amount of radiology, one thing we already heard about that. In histopathology, in biopsies, now the patterns are being recognized. But the patterns are recognized, but the accuracy by itself does not lead to adoption. That's one part. You can recognize the various patterns, but when it comes to the adoption, people may be missing. So what is missing is the trust. How do I trust what is inside the AI? That is one important. That's a black box. Data has come right, left, and center. That is something what we need to do as diagnostics people. We need to validate it, standardize your data, validate your data. There has to be validation protocols which should be existing today. There are CDSCO and SAMD, the software, the medical devices, the regulations have now come into place. The fact is, are we using in the right way? Who is doing the validation? I can use my AI tool, but I don't know from how it is validated, whether it will be, how it will be implicating, how the analysis will come out of it. Then there's a question of integration. It is not integrated, it's in isolation, it's fragmented. Then it's a question of, so what we need to do is, as the you mentioned about the policy making kind of a thing, we need to talk about data protocols to be laid down. What are the data? Do we have data or validation protocols? So many diseases, so many factors, we are still coming out data protocols. Without using the protocol, without using a validation, without doing a standardization, without doing, if you start using AI, you would have challenge. But yes, it has a use today. One is skilling, upskilling, triage, screening, planning, monitoring, quality, alerts. It can give you, this is something you cannot think. Today, clinical trials are happening today. You can actually say phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, what drug is going to behave, because it's going to cause genetic mutation. Now you can, using by AI, tell you, okay, this is something going to come after for 15 years. That tool is there. It exists, is being used. But it does not really, that is a positive. But will going to happen or not 15 years later, who will trust it? Because unless the human validity, because ultimately the question is health and trust. I think what we largely said is, like, we need to have a validated data, standardization protocols, and we need to have reduce the trust deficit. If you reduce the trust deficit, then you can, you can say, India is specific people, India is specific data. We don't have to leave with the Western data. So India is specific and trained algorithms for TB, cervical cancer, which is already happening. And pathology must be, lastly, pathology, I think, pathologists should be. You should know now, you have to upskill us. Otherwise, you probably become slightly off. Why AI is flagging? If the AI is flagging, you should know why it is flagging. If you use that, I think that's something what can be used today. And I think I probably will say AI will help in clinical decision making. It is already happening. We are doing in cancer, but molecular genomics. When we get genomic sequencing for the tumor, we got millions of mutations. We get all this data in front of it. So the system analyzes which are the actionable genes, on which kind of the drugs existing. There may be some 200 mutations, but drugs are only for 15. Which is mildly acting, moderately acting, non-acting, long-acting, predictive, prognostic, how relapse is going to happen or not. Today we're using this, but I think AI is scientific. If it is scientific, and that molecular genomics is already scientific, it's already adopted for the last 15 years, and it's all without, no cancer test today generally goes without genomics kind of thing. And these are the positive points. I think we need to be careful, but validate, standardize before we move forward.
Just a small question, doctor. If you have used artificial intelligence to arrive at a conclusion in diagnostics, especially in imaging, will you tell the patient that yes, I have used artificial intelligence?
Firstly, no harm in telling, but the fact is, patient trusts the doctor. That's it. He doesn't know which book you've read. You've read Gray's Anatomy or Science Anatomy or some kind of books. We have come to know your intelligence. You upgrade yourself, upskill yourself, we fully trust you. But no harm in telling you, because ultimately you are accountable, nobody else is accountable. Yeah. I think that's basic.
That's right. And the more you reveal, I think the patient confidence also increases, the trust increases. I'll now give the second question to Daleep Manhas, who himself is doing a wonderful job in Humeta, an AI tool. Daleep, over to you.
My question is for Dr. Gaurav Thukral. I've seen the journey that healthcare at home has traveled. We remember when we started working on healthcare at home, and now you have slowly transitioned into more brick and mortar kind of a structure, where it becomes very important, along with speed, what is required is accuracy also. People are moving from what we always used to say acute therapy to now long-term rehab and recovery centers that you have opened. You have a lot of patients over there. How are you using AI over there? So my question will be in two parts. One, how are you using it? And how you are sort of getting results out of it? What is your real life experience of using AI tools if you are in those kind of settings? So that is what I wanted to understand.
I represent the largest out-of-hospital care industry, which is at home and into transition care centers, which we now call them recovery hospitals. I also thank Pacific One Health, Swadeep sir, for having me here. I acknowledge the presence of Abhishek Malik and Kanika, who has been ex-colleagues and helped us build and get HCAH to this level. Now coming back to your questions, so what we do at Recovery Hospital is that we treat patients who are having stroke, head injuries, spine injuries, post-operative care. And the first thing, the family, which is already traumatized, because it is an acute episode, the life is saved. The first question which the family asks is, "ये ठीक कब होंगे? ये कितनी देर में ठीक होंगे?" And across rehab specialists, from a physical medicine and rehab MD to a physiotherapist, occupational therapist, everybody has been taught to say recovery is a slow process. We wanted to break this myth. After acute stroke, there is a golden period as before stroke, which is of 90 days. And if you do the right interventions at the right time, you can get back to your feet in 1 month. Now we believed into this, but how do we showcase that? And that's where we used artificial intelligence. We started predicting milestones. When a person will sit, stand, eat, swallow, stand, leave the hospital. We started predicting it. We started doing it manually. Initially, there was so much hesitation with our doctors, with our therapists. अगर नहीं हुआ तो, अगर हमने predict कर दिया और ये नहीं हुआ तो क्या हो जाएगा? And what we started was a culture of delivering milestones on time and delayed. And then working on that, why they were getting delayed, what started happening was that milestones started getting delivered before time. We had promised somebody that your tracheostomy will come out in 3 weeks, and we started doing it at 2.5 weeks. 70% of our milestones started getting delivering before time and on time, and then 10% delayed milestones, by discussing why they are delayed and what interventions can be done, have now come to less than 1%. But the effort to monitor this, the effort to dig out this data from the system was huge, and that's where AI came into play. That's where AI started giving us month-on-month improvement on milestones. Comparative analysis between our 7 hospitals, where what is not working, and then comparative analysis across 100 of therapists, that which therapist is not following the care plan to the toe. To the extent that it also started telling us that how recovery can now be made more faster, or rather fastest, as we say in India. We got robotics, lower limb robotics, upper limb robotics. We are now, everybody can say these are fancy items, marketing items, but we selected all this just to make recovery fastest. All the data which was coming out of these robotic machines on the gait, on the balance, we started integrating that again into our care plans, which further, as Dr. Gaur said, upskilled everyone, right? And that has changed life for our patients, because we are delivering recovery fastest by using artificial intelligence.
I just have one small follow-up question. When you're talking about AI and predicting it? Have you created your own models, or there were models already existing? How have you integrated
So
that?
we have the system which we use for I would say collating the data, where all the healthcare professionals are entering the data, and the data can be culled out of is our own proprietary. But then we are using all the other readily available AI tools to crunch the data and to see what can be done to make that data use better and how it will lead to faster.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Daleep.
Thank you. My next question is to Dr. Vikram Aggarwal. In a busy hospital like yours, where exactly does AI fit today in decision making, triaging, or just as a support tool?
I would like to first thank Pacific One Health for inviting me here, and congratulations to them for starting this wonderful micro chain of hospitals. So AI, sir, you gave a very good prelude before you started this conversation here. AI is, we know what AI is doing, but then we don't know what AI is doing. Right? We know it is coming, but to what extent it is going to come? Is it going to help us? Is it going to affect us? Is it going to harm us? We don't know. Right? We have such discussions, and we go back, learn it by, say, a percentage point back to our organizations, what we are doing. So, if we talk about AI in our hospital, I believe the feeling is more or less the same, whether it is our employees, whether it is our doctors, even our patients. What has changed now is patients coming to us, earlier they were Google trained, now they are ChatGPT trained. Right? So you give them a prescription, that prescription would be loaded in ChatGPT. All the side effects and side effects of the drugs would come first, beneficial effects would come later. And the question to the doctor would be, you gave me this drug, it had this side effects I already have. For example, you gave me a beta blocker or a calcium channel blocker, and I am getting pedal edema now, so it's a common side effect. But then it is needed for the treatment of your heart rate or your heart blood pressure. Correct? So many such challenges are being faced by the clinicians right now because of the unwarranted use of ChatGPTs and AI. Having said that, I believe AI is a tool which we should use as a friend in making, where in the next 3, 5, 10 years, a lot of our burden, which is the gray zone, which is the unproductive zone, would be taken over by AI. I'll take few examples, and I like to divide the use of AI in hospitals in two parts: clinical and non-clinical. Clinical, we don't have trust. Not that AI is not doing good enough job over there, but we do not have trust, because if AI does something wrong, whom are we going to fix it on? So we don't have that trust. Nobody has that trust. Right? So we'll not implement AI. Having said that, still there are certain AI tools which, for example, I'll give an example. There's an OPD tool which doctors are using on their own, where there's a sort of dictaphone. Doctors take the entire history, and this program will make a wonderful prescription out of the discussion between the patient and the doctor, and it can be very well given to the patient. But then this is what it is. It's there in diagnostics, it's there in laboratories, it's there in radiology. Doctors are still apprehensive, they are still wary of using AI. They want to participate, but every single one of them. Coming to the non-clinical parts, the advantages are definitely there. It improves efficiencies, removes the redundancies of the employees of us. So, for example, we adopted a system which helped us in the discharge process. Right. So a lot of patients come to us where you have to submit the discharge summaries, the treatment course, whether it is the TPA or the panel. So now there are these programs which just takes down the entire data of the patient, and within 10 minutes it is ready with a brief report. What is right, what is wrong, what is it that we have missed, and what is it that would lead to reductions or deductions for the patient. Now that is something which our employees cannot do even if they spend 1 hour. Correct. That is something which possibly people will miss, but AI does not. Right. So I believe yes, AI is helpful in many non-clinical operations today, and going forward 3 to 5 years, the role of AI would be huge in even in the clinical practice. as far as data goes, we are the ones who are feeding AI data. AI will create layers of data, one on top of the other. It will have the algorithms one on top of the other. So I think it's time when it's just a matter of time when we will start having those advantages coming from AI.
This question is to Mr. Vicky Nanda. NIRAMAI's AI-driven thermal imaging for breast cancer screening exemplifies smart diagnostics in resource-constrained settings. How do you ensure clinicians trust these outputs during decision-making without over-dependence, especially when enabling home-based or point-of-care models?
So first of all, what we have built at NIRAMAI is basically AI medical device, which comes under the category of software as medical device, as Dr. Ravi Gaur was also talking about. This is used for breast cancer screening purposes, early detection purposes. So today what is happening in this space, especially if we talk about breast cancer, 1% woman is getting screened through existing technologies, which is mammogram. So we are trying to address the reach, because it is very important that we should reach out to 99% of the women if we have to really tackle this problem, because as we all know here that the problem is 96% of women, when it comes to breast cancer, they report it at late stages, right? So stage 3 or potential stage 4. And the only reason is because there is low screening rates, which is less than 1%. So looking at the data, we looked at this opportunity, we looked at this thermal imaging opportunity. Can this be a portable device? Can reach out to communities? Can be done at point of care? Can be done at home? So those kind of opportunities, and we got this opportunity to build this device, which is affordable, which is accurate, which is accessible. Last but not the least, acceptable for patients, right? So this is very important. Now, coming to your question, trust. I think in the previous panel also we were discussing about trust part, how AI can be trusted. And Dr. Ravi Gaur also mentioned, how this trust can be built. But for us, what we thought is, if AI is categorizing a risk, whether it's a high risk or a medium level of risk to the doctor, or let's say a normal, then AI explainability is very important towards the doctor. That why AI thinks that this is a high risk category. So like in our reports, in our reporting structure, what we have built is, when we say high risk, we call it out as B score, which is somewhat reflecting with Barrett scoring for breast cancer detection purposes. But we also say this high risk is there because, let's say, in an upper inner quadrant, 12.4% region is affected on a left breast. Okay, and we say there are multiple hotspots seen. So this AI explainability is very important for doctors. Why AI is thinking, so that doctor can focus on some of those specific areas where AI is highlighting to look at from the risk point of view. In the previous session, the doctor from Jim's Foundation was also talking about exposure by enabling AI. If you use AI, give that opportunity under the control setting, you will have more exposure with the AI. You will understand the advantages of AI and also the limitations of AI. Where does it help you, and then where it will not help you. So those parts will give more, confidence to the clinicians. If I can add further, some of the, override activities for the doctors. So for example, if the outputs are provided by AI, if doctors can override that, by giving more deeper recommendation what he feels, because doctor doesn't get only the AI output as a reporting, but doctor also gets access to the raw information collected by the technicians. So that doctor can access those raw information, the clinical profile, the imaging profile of the patient, and then can also override AI outputs. So that again, enable trust with clinicians. And if we can showcase, some of the prospective studies which is done, like in our case, we have done the AI, prospective clinical, some of the clinical studies in control settings, in the hospitals like NH, HCG, Max Hospital in Delhi, where we have compared this AI medical device with existing traditional technologies like mammogram, ultrasound, and biopsy. And then we have calculated what are the sensitivities and specificity. I think these are some of the parts. Regulatory is another important part, like Dr. Ravi Gaur mentioned, and briefly, that, like in our case, our device is class C under CDSCO, which is cancer risk assessment, which is very important. So looking at the certifications of the, like we are also US FDA cleared medical device, CE mark, approval is already there as a standalone medical device. The company is completely built with quality management system, ISO 13485, ISO 27001. So some of these quality certifications and regulatory information is also very important along with the clinical students. So that's how you will slowly build the trust with clinicians if you enable them and work with them.
When it comes to talking about all these things, AI tools, it's looking exciting, but you guys are doing it day in and day out in noisy clinical settings. How is it different? What kind of difference are you seeing? How they perform in a sanitized showroom where your kilometers per liter is 23 and when you take it on Indian roads it's 7, I drive 1, so how is it different?
If I can add, if we take it to the real world, what is important is how we can standardize some of the protocols, because there will be factors like environmental, there could be factors like, maybe operators, technicians who are using your devices. So if you can standardize some of those protocols, like in our device, what we have done is input is the most important thing for any AI, right? If you can control the input, then output is, at least clean. So it is very important. So garbage in and garbage out kind of philosophy. So what we have done is we have taken, image quality checks. If the image is not as per the quality which we are asking, then it will reject. It will not go further. While there is a button to override, just like for clinicians, but still it will give the error. You are overriding and your image is of bad quality. So those protocols need to be automated at the input level. Similarly, at the cooling level, where we have, our device definitely requires a bit of cooling of the chest before we take the imaging. So there is a cooling graph which is available. So it's not like manually guessing. Individual operator is not guessing, okay, cooling is achieved. The graph typically sends out, okay, the graph is achieved and the cooling is achieved and now you can begin the... so standardizing the protocol is something which we look at. Thank you.
The most important thing about AI is that artificial intelligence is only that much intelligent that how intelligent question is asked to this AI. That is the biggest thing I have learned by asking stupid questions to AI and getting stupid answers. This whole debate between the doctor is superior or the AI is superior, I think a recent example where one of my very close friends' wife got diagnosed with cancer at the age of 47 years. When he asked those questions to AI, AI could respond only what could have been asked. But when the same questions were asked to the doctor, although the questions were not that intelligent because of the ignorance of somebody who's been struck with cancer, the doctor was intelligent enough on what to answer and how to answer, which AI is still not trained. I think we have to start using AI to solve our most difficult problems, but need to know how to ask that question. So that's my closing
Thank
remarks.
you, thanks. Dr. Vikram.
So I think there needs to be more interaction between the companies which are investing in AI and in healthcare delivery companies, maybe hospitals, maybe diagnostics, to make it a more robust system, a robust model. And it's a matter of time before we have some good products coming out of the AI. That's my take.
Well, I think I'll just sum up the thing what he said. Two important things. One was like, we are using it for a sepsis prediction, because various diagnostic values we have. Based on that, we can say, okay, this patient is going to have sepsis now, maybe 2 days from now or 3 days from now. So we probably can have sepsis score can be created. But that is only done by integrating everything. It's like for the clinical, the HIS, LIS, everything is integrated together. And we do have something called integrated diagnostic model. A couple of hospital labs we manage, everything come out. And then we're able to define what in every way we talk about diagnostic, TAT, turnaround time, TAT. We call it CAT. CAT means clinical action time. No point in giving a report in 1 hour unless the action has been taken, the right action has been taken. So that is the two. I think there are many such examples what we can work on, but I think this is something what I say. And lastly, I'll repeat again and again. AI also stands for actual intelligence. AI is also artificial intelligence. if you use your actual intelligence while using artificial intelligence, you will get something, another AI, that is awesome intelligence. If you don't use actual intelligence, it'll become another AI, awful intelligence. I think that's something we'll talk about.
Whether we love it or hate it, I think we have to live with it. That's AI for us to better adapt it. And just in the previous session, one of the speakers had said you can run an entire organization using AI. I think the first job on the line would be mine and of Daleep, because next time onwards the moderator, the co-moderator can be artificial intelligence. But one thing for certain, which I am confident of the doctors, is they would rather be happy answering a human face than an artificial intelligent person. So with those concluding remarks, thank you very much. It's a wonderful session. Thank you.